Thank you for joining me for another episode of Triadvisors. I'm your host, Rob Very. Alright, so this is the second day of me giving advice on running a triading round. Today I've got 5 topics for you. You can find them right over here in the table of contents. And as soon as this video is fully buffered, you can click on any of them at any time to go to them in the video. The topics I'll be discussing today are be upfront, be available, be helpful, projects, and grading. So again, if you'd like to skip ahead to any of those particular topics, let the video buffer, and click on the annotation to my left. I believe that a very important part of being a leader is being upfront with the people you're leading. So when you're running the triading process, it's very important, in my opinion, that you are quite upfront with the members of the triads you are running. Also, that you are upfront with the people that are volunteering who haven't even gotten in yet. In other words, if you decide to change something about how the process is going to work, if you decide to change something that you said you were going to do, you make sure, you, being the collective group of people running the triading process, need to make sure that you tell the people what the plan is. People really don't like when you surprise them with stuff, especially if it's something that they're partly responsible for and it changes how they have to do things. Just keep that in mind. In running the triading process, a very, very crucial component, and related to yesterday's be present advice, is to be available. Now by that I mean, you are somehow able to be contacted and accessed for your resources and your knowledge and your skills in leading by both the people you're leading, i.e. the people in the triads, and to the people that are also running it with you. You need to make sure you offer some form of contact, whether it be email, a messaging service like Skype or AOL, or even simply a chat room on IRC. If a decision needs to be made and you're not around, people need a way of getting in touch with you to remind you to show up and to help you find a way to help the decision process move along. On the other hand, a triad that you're running may need your help with something, may need your advice, and if they can't find you, they can't get it, and they might not be able to move on. Now sure, not everyone who's running the process has to be available at all times, but at least a few people, even if they're different people, need to be available at all times. Another thing to keep in mind is that running a triading process is not all about delegation. Now sure, when my tribe started it, the Pogo tribe, we were started by Dan Brown, and he essentially told us what to do and left it at that. Now that's quite alright because he was a one-man army running the show there and introducing us to the concept. But usually it's a group of people, and if a group of people aren't available and aren't answering questions, then what's the use? Anyone can read any old thread or any old email or any old website about the triading process, and they can do it themselves if they see fit to. But a crucial part of it is that if they have questions, that is, the people who want to be in a triad, they need somebody to turn to, and they need somebody willing to assist them, whether it be giving project ideas, or giving goal ideas for your project, or giving triad name suggestions, or giving contact method suggestions, best ways to talk to people, anything like that. You have to be willing to assist the people you're leading. Now, that doesn't mean to be a crutch, but it does mean not to instantly reject them just because you might think it's a dumb question and they should know. Nothing should really be a dumb question. Alright, let's talk about projects. So part of the triading process involves creating a project with your triad. Now this project is typically used to benefit your tribe in some way, but it can do other things like maybe making a video for fun or getting to know each other, which actually does help your tribe in some way, but you might not see it right away. In any case, when you're running a triading process, you need to keep in mind that the project phase, well, it's kind of the most important phase. Sure, getting to know each other is pretty important, and sure, obviously the teaching part is important, but a real big component of it is to make sure that the projects are posted, are successful, are progressive. You gotta have all that stuff in there. So you have to make sure that your triads understand what it means to be running a project. you have to tell them. Running a project is hard work. You need to make sure that when you tell them to set up a goal for their project, that it has to be specific and measurable. Otherwise, how are you going to be able to tell whether or not they were successful when they are up for grading? Now, one other small trinket about projects is that some projects fail. Now, that might be because they were abandoned, that might be because they were not a good idea, that might just be because they were poorly executed. Now, one thing that you can do is to keep track of previously abandoned projects within your tribe. If you do that, then your triads will have a whole pool of ideas to execute properly. Possibly. You just need to make sure you seek permission from the previous owners of the projects. By owners, I of course mean the people who thought of the project and posted it. Just a quick thought about something you could do if people are having trouble creating projects. Last but not least, let's talk about grading projects. What I suggest is, before you even get to the projects phase, you talk about the grading of the projects. Because when you get to the projects phase, you're going to want to announce how you're going to grade it. That's probably the best way to go. Several ways you can go. You can give them letter grades. Now that might be hard, especially if some of them don't come up with specific and measurable goals. Now you're going to want to enforce that they really do that, as I said earlier. But if they don't, it's going to be really hard to figure out a specific letter grade. The way I prefer to do it is to do a simple pass-fail system. That is, you set specific qualifications, that is, maybe make significant progress towards your specific measurable goal, complete your specific and measurable goal, post a project and post a specific and measurable goal, even if you don't get any takers. Any of those could possibly work. But just keep in mind, what's more important than the grading is the next phase, which is the teaching. And in my opinion, even if a triad posts a project and doesn't make any progress and it didn't look like they made any effort to do it, they may have made effort. You need to reach out to them and find out what happened. Because if they did make effort, then they're very, very vital to the next round, the teaching round. Because of course, you can ask them what they did wrong. Or you could ask them what they did, and you know that it was wrong. Now, just keep in mind that all of this is simple advice, mere suggestions as to how you can run a successful round of triads. It's up to you to figure out what's the best way to do it. And all I'm doing is sharing my experience as to what's worked for me and what I think might have worked for me and what I think didn't work for me. Thanks for watching, and remember, if at first you don't succeed, try it again.